I know there are some deep concerns about hardening, and maybe I can describe what hardening is. It's taking a home and making it more fire resistive, and taking the land, let's say 100 feet around the home, and making it less susceptible to burning. And I think adding that on is useful, but at the same time, we don't want to get bogged down with this. So I think this is when we should be talking about hardening. Should there be sprinklers on the outside of the building? Should there be cisterns or water tanks on each property? Should the utilities underground the electrical lines, especially in these neighborhoods that have been completely devastated and cleared out? Is this the time now to come in and trench and do that work? In terms of hardening, all vents that let air into the house should have spark arresters that prevent sparks from coming in. That's a very common way for a house to burn. Should there be proper landscaping around the home that isn't so susceptible to burning? And again, maintenance, older dead plant material, or even leaves in gutters, or leaves that collect in corners. When embers burn and land on those, that's how a home starts to ignite. So all of these things should be talked about right now, and a few additions or thoughts should be added in a very clear, concise way, again, to simplify this process and make it very clear to the homeowner what the expectation is.
So are you worried that this conversation may drag for a while, and then it could become very vague? And
It could. And
then it would confuse the departments that are overseeing,
right. And there could be inconsistent
laws that
decisions made by individual reviewers or inspectors that will ultimately result in delay and more costs.
Michael, you guys have decided to put these list of recommendations together and come forward at this time. Why did you guys decide that?
Well, we are experts at building. We all have ways to contribute to society and to help people that are in need. And for us, this is the most powerful way we can help influence and help our community.
You seem to care a lot about this development process. How did you get into this?
I really do love my job. I've enjoyed just building and problem solving since I was a child. I am an only child. I was able to build with Legos and Lincoln Logs and blocks, and I could take our den and just build entire cities and buildings, and it was so much fun, and I enjoyed doing that. And this is really an extension of that childhood, of continuing to solve problems and building and helping other people. And I also just love ideas. And I think, with this tragedy, trying to come up with ideas to expedite this process of helping people is really important. And when people suggest potential solutions and then trying to connect the dots to actually make it happen, because there's always the opportunity of having an idea, but then how do you execute it? How does that come about to bring goodness in a process that helps us all?
And for your ideas to get taken into consideration, what needs to happen? Do you need to have meetings, or do you need to get to the right people?
Well, first of all, within our organization, there are other architects that are way smarter than I am. And so we've been emailing and calling each other and discussing this and developing a plan of action and of suggestions that we'd then like to share with governing bodies.
And what about the homeowners who may have unfortunately lost their home in this tragedy? Do you have any recommendations for them?
I think from their perspective as well, reaching out to the agencies and understanding what is available to help us now, what path are these governing agencies taking to expedite this process. And I would suggest that they, in the near future, come to our American Institute of Architects website and review our recommendations and see if they will be applicable to their their local governing organization.
You mentioned that the governor's directive has only 1 year for the Coastal Commission and the CEQA. Do you think people should get started now, the people that intend to rebuild?
Absolutely. I do think if someone's committed to rebuilding, they should start now. We want this housing to be built over time. We want some people to start right away. Others will be waiting and deciding what they want to do. And I think starting now with there are resources available. There, if everybody were to build at once, I'm not sure we have enough contractors, enough builders to do this. So the early ones will have some risk with governing agencies on the approval process, but once they have those approvals, they'll be at the beginning of construction, and there is some availability in terms of the industry to help build.
What about the public side of it? Have you guys thought about the schools and the public properties that were lost in the fires? How does that work?
I think the governing agencies that oversee those institutions are going to have to do the same thing. They may want to build something temporary to accommodate the demand that was there. And then at the same time, what are the long-term goals? Will they rebuild the school? Can they rebuild the facility better and stronger so that it is less prone to fire in the future? I think the other thing too is there are a lot of small businesses that have been hit. And I know we've spoken a lot about homeowners, but a lot of these small businesses that have lost their buildings will need a similar process of approval to expedite and get them up and running and making money again so that they can support their families.
Do you guys oversee the construction side of it too?
Absolutely.
So you will see the end result?
Yes.
And when you're doing the self-certification, do you oversee the construction side as well, or we certify that as well?
We let the contractor certify it. We review the construction to make sure it's consistent with what was drawn. But the contractor, we're not out there every day to see every decision that is made. So we generally look at the progress of the work, but like I said, we're not out there every hour watching every nail being put in. So the contractor actually needs to also certify that his work is compliant with our work. And I think that's another important point to bring in the government inspectors to actually be that third eye to protect a homeowner's interests.
And so they're protecting, but at the same time, in this case, it might take long, right? Does it take long when they come to inspect the construction?
Well, they may need to transfer people that maybe aren't reviewing drawings at the permit level into the field to review this work, because you're right, they could get overwhelmed by the amount of inspections.
This is a lot of structures for LA, right?
Yeah, and they're all being built at different times. It's not as if an inspector can just go around and review everything in one swoop. They're done at different times, at different stages. So there's going to be a personnel crunch that cities need to start thinking about now.